Welcome back to the McCowan Podcast. Dave Hodge in today for Bob, joined by the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers, Ken Holland, who will never be on the podcast again because he was invited before their 9th consecutive potential victory and they lost. So I know you, Kenny, you're a superstitious guy, so this is the last time, I suppose.
That's no problem. Anytime, John.
So just before we get far, when you have 55 shots on goal, aren't you supposed to win?
Well, obviously they've got a superstar goalie there, John, one of the best in the business, if not the best in the business. I thought he was a big part of the story last night, Vasilevsky.
Well, Ken, I have a list of questions related to 9-game win streaks, and it's no good now. but for his 50 saves, it would have been. So there's two ways to look at it. Either that's what Vasilevsky does, or unfortunately, that's what happens to Stuart Skinner too often for the critics' liking. Even after 8 straight wins, the spotlight is never off the Edmonton goalie. I'm sure you prefer to look at what he and the team did during the previous 8 games, or how much does last night bother you?
Well, in terms of a loss, certainly last night bothers me. We obviously need the wins. We're in a race here to try to get into the playoff spot. So, I guess I look at, first off, the way you play and is it sustainable? And I thought that we did a lot of good things last night. We generated a lot of quality scoring chances. Our special teams have been very good. We got a shorthanded goal last night. We got a couple of power play goals. Obviously, they got a key power play goal right off the bat to score. So again, I thought, if you keep playing multiple games like you played last night, more often than not, you're going to come out on top. Again with Stu Skinner, the 5 years that I've been here, obviously there's if it wasn't a focus on Mike Smith, it was a focus on Mikko Koskinen. Obviously, it's always a focus on the goaltender, and I think the sport that we're in. Certainly the goaltending position is a very, very important position. When I look at the NHL, and I kind of compare it to the NFL, there's probably 8 to 10 franchise goalies in the National Hockey League, and maybe there's 8 to 10 franchise goalies in the NFL, and then the rest of the league, there's lots of good goalies. They're good NHL goalies, and we've got one of those good NHL goalies. And when we play good, solid defense, our goaltending follows suit. And I thought last night, even though they only had, I think, 22 or 24 shots or however many they had, I thought they had a lot of great 8 chances. And, I think when it was 2-1 and Braden Point had a wide open net and he shot over the net, they generated a lot of quality scoring chances. And, every night there's probably, not every night, quite often there's a goal that a goalie looks he'd like to have back. But I think over 82 games, that's going to happen to all the goaltenders.
Well, during the streak, the Oilers gave up only 13 goals. Surely that's a reflection of the coaching change, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a reflection of a lot of things. I think that, Dave, when we were obviously we made the coaching change. I think we were 2-9-1 or 3-9-1. First off, this is a team that the previous, 2 years got 100 points each year, and each year won a playoff round and got into the second round of the playoffs. I believe there's only 2 teams that did that, Carolina and us. In the previous 120 games before this year started, we had the second best winning percentage in the National Hockey League. So this team had performed at a high level over a long period of time. And when we made the change at 3-9-1, like I said at the press conference, this is our, when you look at our team and you look at Connor and you look at Leon and you look at Darnell and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman and others, this is really, the prime of this team, and we have to maximize the ability. And we decided that we weren't prepared to wait to see if we can turn around, and we needed to make a coaching change. And so I think number one, it's a good team that had performed at a high level that was way off. The coaching change, I think, with Paul Coffey and Chris Knobloch have come in and did some tweaks, made some changes. The team has really responded for them. I think that we've been much better in the penalty kill. But again, I think that the team was so far off that on the other flip, many players were underachieving, weren't playing as well as we felt that they could, that they have as individually and as a group. And I think certainly the coaching change, the tweaks, probably the jolt, the message, all for a whole variety of reasons, the team really responded. I think we were 5-3 or something the first few games, and then we went on this 8-game winning streak. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but certainly Chrisgnuolo and Paul Coffey deserve a lot of credit for turning our team around.
Are you comfortable? I mean, I think I know you well enough that you never get too high and you never get too low when things are good and things are bad. Are you comfortable where this team is performing now at this point, or what concerns you the most at this point?
Well, I mean, this business is a roller coaster ride.
Yep.
Yesterday we had this Zoom call. We'd have been on an 8-game winning streak, and you're up. Today you lose and you're down. And obviously there's a game on Saturday. And do we rebound and do we win, or do we lose and it's a 2-game winning streak, or do we win and we've won 9 out of 10? So, that's why you have to be, somewhat even keel, because the season and within the season is a roller coaster ride. So, disappointed that we lost last night, but we got to get back at it today, get ready for tomorrow night. We got a quality team coming in here tomorrow. Florida, they've lost a couple of games. They're going to be anxious to put a win together. So certainly I've seen lots of positives over the last 8-9 games. As I said to Dave, I thought we did a lot of things last night, but we gave up 5 goals against. And one of the keys to being sustainable is obviously, the defensive part of the puck. And as Dave said, in the 8-game winning streak, we gave up 13 goals, and last night we gave up 5. So we got to get back to playing the way that we are, stingy defense. And if when the goals are against, they're down, for every team in the league, your chances of winning go up.
Well, I watched a fair bit of Florida's loss in Vancouver last night, and they didn't score a goal, nor did they score a previous night in Seattle, and they looked dead beat. So I don't want to get your hopes up too high, but I think you're going to start another winning streak when the Panthers come to Edmonton. Meanwhile, what particularly do you like about Chrisgnuolo?
Well, first of all, I like his resume. I mean, he's won, Dave. He won. He won in the Western Hockey League a championship. He won a championship in Erie last year. He took Hartford to the second round of the playoffs. So, first off, he was an assistant coach in Philadelphia. He's got good experience. He's been around junior hockey. He's been around pro hockey. He's been a head coach. I like that. I like that in coaches. Then I would say the time that I've been here, he's had good communication. He's had tweaks. It's hard to come in the middle of the season and make these massive overhauls to the way your team is playing. But he's made tweaks and some changes. On the penalty kill, he's gone to 3 sets of 2. He's kind of he wants to have a couple of guys have chemistry and 3 sets of players have chemistry instead of maybe a bunch of different players out there. So that's one example of, I call it a tweak, but it's probably a significant change because our penalty killing has been much better the last under his watch. He seems to the other night he seems to have stability, but when the other night against Chicago, when things weren't going, he put the second and third line into a bit of a blender. So he seems to have a really good feel for in-game adjustments, in-game management. So obviously I'm just getting to know him. I'd interviewed him for a job with the Grand Rapids Griffins in 2015 when we were looking for a head coach in the American League, and spent some time with him then, and obviously has followed his career. When we made the change, Jeff Jackson obviously knew him a lot better than I do. Jeff's clients, many of them, Connor McDavid, Radish, DeBrincat, I think a number of his clients had played for Chris in Erie. Ryan Martin, my former assistant general manager in Detroit, who's now the assistant general manager in New York. was Chrisgnuolo's general manager with in Hartford when he was in Hartford. So, you know, obviously I'm just getting to know him, but you know, when we went to make the information and gathered all the information, felt that we had a really good young coach. And as we sit here today, certainly in working with him and watching him operate, certainly appears he's a really bright young coach and very experienced and knows exactly how he wants the team to play. And our team has responded to him.
And he certainly has an even keel.
Very much so. I think that he doesn't get, you know, he's doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, and you know, he's steady, you know, he's steady on the rudder.